Telling knives here. Excuse me. A couple days ago, I posted a video talking about sharpening a knife, which is a tool, enough to do the task needed, and then no more. That way, you had more time to actually do the needed work. And I wanted to kind of touch on that again. And I grabbed this knife here, and I actually showed it in the last video. This is an old 14C 28N blade of mine that does nothing but cut sandpaper. This is my sandpaper knife. It is full height flat ground. It was in 1/8 inch stock. It has got a full taper to the blade, and it was 0 ground. Now over time I've sharpened it. I measured it. It's 9 thou behind the cutting edge, so it needs to be thinned down a little bit. But with this knife, since it cuts sandpaper, I use it until, and really what I'm doing is most of the time I'm cutting rounds of sandpaper for my disc sander with this a lot. And once it gets where it doesn't cut clean and wants to rip the sandpaper, it's time for me to sharpen it. So I grab whatever stone I grab. A lot of times I grab this coarse VMT and I sharpen it, and when it feels okay, I'll cut sandpaper. If it cuts sandpaper, like I want it to, I'm happy with it. I'm not doing any edge test with it. As long as it cuts the sandpaper without ripping it, that's all I need. So quickly sharpen it. Hey, it's cutting sandpaper, it's good to go. Here's an example. Here's some Rhino wet, and you can see where I've cut the circle out. And this is, what is this, 220? Yeah, this is like 220. And it cleanly cut the sandpaper. Once it gets where it's not cutting and it wants to rip it, then I know I need to sharpen it. So that's, a test. And as the sandpaper goes up in grit, it's easier to tear than the coarse stuff. So what I've got this knife. It's not in bad shape. Actually, you saw me sharpen it on if you watched the last video, you watched me sharpen on the last video. There's no light shining. It's not super sharp because, again, I sharpen it just enough to cut sandpaper. But it will slice phone book paper, not as cleanly as I'd like it to. Now, one of the things about this, it's very lean. Thin blade, nice flat grind, and it's got a steel that's low carbide, takes a very fine edge at a low edge angle, which makes it cut well. That's one of my things about steel. I like a steel that I can grind thin. It's easy to maintain. 14C 20N is one of them, ABL is one of them, stuff like that. But anyway, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this knife. I've got this, I'm not sure what the abrasive grit on this is, but this real coarse stone. And now I see all kinds of light on the edge. It's definitely dull. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen it, and I'm going to put a little more effort into it than I would for sandpaper, just for the simple fact I wanted to show you how even with a little bit of effort, you don't have to put a whole lot of effort if your knife's set up correctly. A little mineral oil. Now this is a Lansky medium hone, and I looked up the grit a while ago. It's supposed to be like 280 grit, so pretty aggressive. Now also, I told you this knife was about 9 thou behind the cutting edge, so I do need to thin the shoulder down a little bit. And that's another thing with your knives. If you as you sharpen them and you sharpen them and you sharpen them, they're naturally going to start thickening up. So thin them down, maintain that cutting performance. So I'm just going to Do a little thinning. Man, I'm sorry. I don't know if you could see me where I was at. And this is just me thinning out the shoulder. No magic here. Just a little bit more thinning. Now where this knife's at right now, I can cut sandpaper. I can look at it and feel it and go, hey, it's ready to cut sandpaper. But we're going to take it a little bit further. Now all my knives, even my kitchen knives, my standard is I want the cleanly sliced phone book paper with a nice like toothy edge. Then that will do anything that I need it to do. I don't need that super sharp blade, because typically as soon as you start using it, you know, cutting something dirty or whatever you're doing, it's going to dull. So again, you're to that point where you're putting more into it than you're getting out. So that's all I'm going to do on this 280 grit stone. And now I have this Norton Fine India stone, and it's equivalent to like 400 grit. It's actually a little bit loaded. I need to clean it. I've actually not found the best way to clean it. I saw somewhere people put them in the dishwasher. I hadn't tried that yet. And really all I'm doing right this second is refining the scratch patterns, refining the bevel a little bit. What edge angle? I don't know. Don't care. It's not high. That would defeat the purpose of a steel like this. All right. Couple higher passes just in case there was a burr. I've not even felt for that. Also puts a slight micro bevel on it. All right. And again, this is more than this knife needs since it cuts sandpaper. All right. Wipe this off. Let me grab my phone book paper. I don't know if you can tell, but that's pretty sharp. And like I said, it's about as fine of an edge. You know, again, it's that toothy edge. I mean, I'll do anything 400 to 1200 depending on what stone I grab, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking that toothy edge. So, just to show you, here is a tomato. So, I say it's good enough for kitchen work. Now this is a short little blade, so having to and this is not a tomato knife. But anyway, that's all that I ever need. And you see how much effort I put into that. So having a nice lean ground blade and a good steel, maintaining it, keeping it the shoulders lean, and if the edge gets damaged, like it was just damaged, I mean it was completely dull a while ago, a little bit of effort, get it sharp enough. Now I could keep on honing and going up in grit progression and getting it sharper and sharper and sharper, but what am I gaining? Am I really gaining anything? Honestly, for what I do, no. And it's not that I make, you might look at this if you don't know me and say, well, he makes crap knives. That's not the case. I focus on performance and function. Also, fit is very important to me. So let me grab a couple knives just to show you. Yeah. Nice little hunter. Now, all these knives actually are available. It's a belt knife. And here's a kitchen knife. So it's not that, oh, I make ugly tools and it's, my focus on tools. A knife is a tool, and it has to work in the manner that it was designed for. And if it doesn't, then it's a worthless tool. It may be pretty, but if you can't cut with it, it doesn't function properly. And sharpening is part of tools, tool maintenance. If you cannot maintain that tool easily, it's not worth it to me. I want something that I can easily maintain. So anyway, I hope that kind of clarifies my, feelings on sharp enough to get the work done so you can actually get more work done. And that's what I mean. Again, this is a sandpaper knife. I'm not going to spend probably more each time I sharpen it. I don't spend more than probably a minute to get it back where it cuts sandpaper. Cut sandpaper, I'm done with it. And then when it's dull again, quickly hit it on the diamond stone, it cuts sandpaper, I'm done.